The New Tech Times, a video magazine for the electronic age. In this edition, Tactaid, a sensory device that's helping the profoundly deaf. Also, 21st Century Video, documenting television from nightly news clips. Later, IMAX, the cinema of the future, here today. And Fred D'Ignazio returns with Sweetums for a look at more Muppet software. All this and more in this edition of the New Tech Times.
The New Tech Times is brought to you through a grant from Wausau Insurance Companies. Times change. Wausau works. And by the collective voice of the consumer electronics industry. CEG, the Consumer Electronics Group, Electronic Industries Association.
Hello, I'm Mort Krim. Welcome to this edition of the New Tech Times. This week's program illustrates some of the inventive ways technology can serve us at home, in business, in the field of education, or the world of entertainment. We'll also see how users groups can make bad situations better with a little ingenuity. We begin with this report on a new device serving the hearing impaired. It's bringing new dimensions of sound to the profoundly deaf. Here's Gary Prope's report.
Sound, its vibration picked up by nerves in the eardrum, reproduced into sensations ranging from the pleasurable to the annoying.
But for a few thousand people in this country, there is no such thing as sound. The vibration of these leaves underfoot would mean nothing to their eardrums. These people are completely deaf, and the strongest hearing aid will never help. But because of a new type of technology, these people are now able to interpret sound in a different way.
What's this? Bird eats. Bird eat. What's that? Airplane?
One of those people is Megan Hefner, a 4-year-old who's profoundly deaf. She wears a new electronic device called a Tactaid. The box at her side contains a microphone and circuit boards. It filters vibrations for pitch, intensity, and tone. They're transmitted to a sensory device on her sternum. Megan feels sound, similar to the way all of us feel the booming tones of a bass drum. With the help of the Tactaid, Megan's father is teaching her to talk.
Fire truck. Okay, yeah.
When she first started school, when you talked to her, she would mimic that with her mouth but not use her voice. As soon as they put this on, within, I'd say, a couple of weeks, she was using her voice.
Before the Tactaid, Megan was often irritable. But now, the device is helping her to change her personality.
As you could imagine, there's been a lot of frustration on both parts. We can't communicate to her, and she doesn't understand what we're trying to say. But I think the tantrums are subsiding somewhat. And I think that's a sign that it is working, and she's starting to pay more attention and starting to get more out of communication.
When Megan goes to school, the Tactaid goes along. She attends class at the Central Institute for the Deaf at Washington University in St. Louis. Her teachers realized that Megan needed something to stimulate speech.
Turn it on. Mm-hmm. But it's okay. Okay. All right.
She doesn't vocalize if the Tactaid is broken or she's not wearing it. The teachers notice a change in her. She doesn't attend as well when they're trying to teach her. She doesn't. Her speech is not as good, and she doesn't seem to understand as well.
Good job. Flower. Good job.
Researchers at an audio engineering firm near Boston developed the Tactaid. It sells for $600. They're now working to improve its ability to distinguish sound. The vibrations on the chest are not crisp enough to completely simulate speech. That's why Megan's pronunciation is still difficult to understand.
Good job, Brianna. Okay, all right.
If the Tactaid is refined, it could greatly improve Megan's quality of life.
A lot will depend on the degree to which that helps her acquire the English language. If she learns the English language similarly to other deaf children in our school who learn it through their hearing aid, then she can look forward, she would be able to look forward to going to perhaps high school with normal hearing children, leading a pretty normal life.
One priority is to make the device smaller so Megan doesn't have to wear straps.
She's accepted wearing it very well, I'd say, which is amazing. At some point, I wonder when she gets older if there will be a rejection to it because it is so large and noticeable.
When Megan was 15 months old, her parents learned that she would not be able to hear. Since that time, they've patiently worked with this little girl. Now that technology offers hope, they can be enthusiastic about their daughter's future.
I think she's very aggressive by nature. She's also learning a great deal, and that gives us a lot of hope and confidence that she'll be able to cope and deal with the real world. I have to believe that. Where's the hat? No. Yeah, hat, you knew.
Megan Hefner's story is gratifying. Her once silent world is now alive with sound, thanks to technology. The Tactaid has improved her quality of life and brought Megan the promise of a brighter future. In February 1984, Timex Sinclair dropped its line of personal computers. It made the future look bleak for owners of its PCs at the time, but as Tom Tomaszewski reports, that future is now looking up.
But Stuart Newfield is infected with the fever that forged the fame of that microelectronic capital just the same. His company is called Zebra Systems. They sell and make add-on equipment for Timex computers. The Timex company announced its decision to stop selling their computer on February 21st. Stuart's business, staked on $20,000 of his own dollars, began a few months earlier. Like survivors after the storm, Stuart and his customers are picking up the pieces, bit by bit.
I'm confident that there is a large installed base, and I like, the second part of the answer is that I like doing this.
Stuart and his customers expected the blow. They purchase spare products at bargain basement prices. Like children watching their parents break up, they have some bitter feelings about the divorce of Timex and Sinclair.
They deserted us because there are thousands of consumers out there who are crying for information, for software.
Timex, for its part, though, has provided detailed technical information necessary for these Timex supporters to develop new products. Timex does honor its warranties. They point troubled users in the direction of the 100 or so Timex user groups nationwide, and they point users towards product-holding dealers around the country. But Timex is out of the computer business. That leaves Timex users clinging together, a family determined. They have to be.
Everybody knows there's other people out there in the same boat and sinking, so to speak.
Sue Currier's SoftSync software company was born producing software solely for the Timex computer line. The signs of her company's survival are there behind her. SoftSync began to produce software for other computers. The heyday of the Timex Sinclair lasted 6 months for SoftSync, until Atari and Commodore began waging a price war. SoftSync is selling and duplicating the programs it already has, but doesn't plan on producing new ones. Those will have to come from users or third-party vendors.
It'll be for themselves, for their families. If they know of a newsletter, they can put it in, then if someone wants it, fine. But it certainly won't be broad-based distribution, and you have to be plugged into the users groups and or the newsletters to even know what's going on.
It's easy to forget that the computer's heart is the chips inside. There's a body of some 260 hardware, software, and add-on products available for the Timex Sinclair series computers. A cottage industry of small independents has developed everything from programs to modems and floppy disk drives for the little computer. Sinclair computer imports from England continue to be an important Timex support source. Zebra Systems has developed add-ons providing keyboards with beeps to reinforce typing action, game paddle adapters, and a voice synthesis device. They have new product plans.
Sometimes the quiet people turn out to be most tenacious.
Stewart admits he is selling things in the hundreds he had hoped to be selling in the thousands. Working out of the freezer in an old pizza parlor, turned beer depot, turned high-tech factory, isn't glamorous. The company only has 4 employees, including him, but he says they're growing, and they're making money, and we shouldn't worry about them.
Certainly could have earned more money during the past 2 years by working for an aerospace company again, but I am chasing part of the American dream, which is, entrepreneurship, and I like it.
You can set your watch by the trains rumbling overhead outside Zebra Systems' office. The trains running on the computer industry track are not as reliable. Zebra Systems has their ear to that track. If they detect the sound signaling the derailment of another computer company, they're prepared to change trains, change companies. They're confident they can avoid being dragged to ruin and instead follow the computer industry track to success. It isn't Silicon Valley, but the fever here is just as strong.
If you have story ideas, suggestions, or comments about the New Tech Times, get in touch with us electronically. Through the source, log on with Public 125 Direct. On CompuServe, use Go NTT. Or contact us directly through our 300-baud New Tech Times electronic bulletin board by dialing 608-263-2784.
Though Timex Sinclair users in New York still may have the fever, that's not the case for everyone left holding the bag with an out-of-production computer. The fleeting nature of some models has left tens of thousands of disgruntled users taking a long, hard look at the world of personal computers. The fleeting world of television isn't as gloomy these days for a wide-eyed businessman from Canada. He's looking ahead to the 21st century. Here's our report, produced by Dale Neitzel.
These days, everything is moving so rapidly that you have to have a sound informational base on which to make a decision. And the more information you have, the more higher the odds are that you're going to make a correct decision. And if you don't have that information, you're doomed.
Frank Ogden operates 21st Century Media Communications from his houseboat in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Well, our purpose is to monitor television, news, and public affairs from as many sources as we can to obtain that information that our clients require. Now, this may be in the field of energy, agriculture, politics, economics, high-tech, anything of that. And we provide him clips of all those news things, so he is instantly aware of everything that's happening in his field worldwide.
21st Century monitors over 142 satellite transponders, 20 cable channels, and videotapes items of interest from several other countries. One of Frank's customers is BC Place, the largest urban redevelopment project in the world. Paul Manning is corporate vice president at BC Place.
It's important to know how you're being perceived by others. And we've got something like maybe 18 television stations or channels on the cable here. A great many of them have news about BC Place. And we're not going to send 8 people home or 18 people home every night to watch their television and come in the next morning and say, well, this is what was said today, or this is what happened today. What Frank does, and it's of great assistance, is he has a regular clip of things that affect BC Place from all the different stations that are shown around here and some elsewhere, because he picks it up off the satellite as well.
They're interested in any of the technologies that may affect real estate. They're interested in things like the shrinking office space, because with the high tech and computers, you don't need rooms full of filing cabinets that you're paying $30 a square foot to store. So all these things are important to them.
Newspapers stay. You can always rip out a newspaper and read what somebody said at your leisure. But television is very fleeting. And what this does is give us, I don't know, a collection of what happens about us on television. And we can then sit down there and say, well, that's right, that's great. That's what we are trying to do. Or we can sit there and say, well, that's someone's not telling the truth, and so we've got to find some way to get the proper thing out.
At 21st century media communications, news is information, and information is power.
Because television is, though it leaves such an indelible and strong imprint with the watcher, the viewer, it's been not a thing of permanent record. Because it was electronic, it just came and went, and it had an effect on the people, but nobody could recall it and say, this is what was actually said. And so what we're doing, we're carving television into stone, so it is an item of record.
Frank Ogden's documentation of television isn't new. Companies like his have been providing taped excerpts of the evening news for years. But Frank's satellite hookup puts video clippings into service on a global scale with a worldwide audience. 70mm expanded image film and a new projection system may bring excitement to movie audiences soon. Its developers hope to take us all into the 21st century with a new silver screen 4.5 stories high and 6.5 stories wide. The theater of the future may very well be an instrument like this one. The future's velvet light trap may be a 3,000-pound, 4,000-watt magic lantern like this. It's called IMAX.
IMAX is a very clear, overwhelming visual image. It is so clear there's points in it when you feel like you're actually in the picture, or the picture takes on a three-dimensional appearance. And you become totally involved.
One of the things that makes our theater unique, which makes it an experience, is that we do pay very close attention to very fine details. Everything that one can see has to be taken into account.
Gary Bowen designed the acoustical structure of the Denver Historical Museum's IMAX Theater.
I spend at least 2 hours every 10 days just sitting in the auditorium and listening.
For this film, called Hail Columbia, Bowen traveled to Florida and captured the sounds of a space shuttle launch with his digital recorder. It's used to sweeten the real feel of this life-size liftoff.
I then came back and have, as closely as possible, matched the response and loudness characteristics of our digital recording of the launch to the soundtrack. And so we do have a little bit of augmentation to the soundtrack. I can honestly say it is as realistic as we can get it without destroying the building.
When we saw the launch, one of the things we noticed is you could feel it in your chest. You didn't just hear the sound, but you felt the vibration, and we felt that was an important part of the excitement and the experience. And what we try to do with this theater is to create a total experience, so we knew it was important that people had that same sensation.
Graham Ferguson is the man who brought this technology to the screen. He's shooting another IMAX film here at the Huntsville, Alabama NASA Space Camp. The film is called The Dream is Alive. IMAX technicians trained 14 space shuttle astronauts to use the IMAX film camera. Those astronauts will shoot most of the film in space. This bulky 82-pound camera will be weightless there. Ferguson is betting his new art form will carry great weight here on Earth.
Oh, it's a very good audience response. Some of our theaters have been among the most successful in history of cinema. The IMAX Theater in the National Air and Space Museum draws 1,700,000 people every year.
The film's power is carried in the slick ribbon of 70mm film roaring through the projector's gates. The frames in that ribbon carry an image 3 times the standard size 70mm film. This metal housing rolls a loop of the film horizontally past the projector lens. Micro-switch control springs gently guide the 4-foot, 200-pound film reels. Without that guidance, those reels would tear the fragile ribbon to shreds. 6 tracks carried on synchronized 35mm reels of film stock surround the audience with sound. The theater seats are carefully sloped at a 25-degree angle. At that slope, the screen fills the viewer's field of vision. The image and acoustics do the rest. Bowen says the theater plays like an instrument.
If anybody else plays an instrument, you can understand the pleasure that you can get from playing a piece very well. I derive the same type of pleasure from playing the technology.
The sea of seats beckons Gary Bowen when the last of the day's crowds filters out of the theater. It's then he can experiment with this futuristic instrument of entertainment.
That's when I can put on the compact disc player and go into the auditorium and turn it up to 90, 95 decibels and listen to it. It's the most pleasing, clean sound.
And he can dream of the possibilities yet to be explored for the high-tech velvet light trap of the future. IMAX presents a new challenge for filmmakers as they strive to bring their stories to its giant-sized screen. But audiences may tire of this new format as they did of Cinerama if filmmakers aren't creative enough to make it more than just a novelty. When Jim Henson introduced us to his Muppets, they were a novelty. But the folks at Henson Associates haven't rested on their laurels. They've been busy looking for new ways to make the Muppets fresh and interesting. Last week, Fred D'Ignazio reported on the Muppet Learning Keys. This week, he's back with a report on some Muppet software products.
Welcome back to the Muppet Mansion. This week, Sweetums and I will review 2 other software products developed for kids by Henson Associates.
Yeah.
Sweetums, are you ready to learn more about the Muppet software?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get started. Our first product this week is called the Muppet Institute of Technology, or MIT. It was endowed by Simon & Schuster to offer early learning courses to children who use microcomputers. The kids who complete these imaginary courses are given a diploma and awarded course credits. Would you like to earn some credits, Sweetums?
Yeah.
The first 2 courses come from the Institute Reading Department and are intended for children ages 4 to 8. They each cost $40 and will be available for the Commodore 64 at the end of the year and for the Apple in early 1985. In The Great Gonzo and Word Rider, Gonzo's favorite chicken, Camilla, has been kidnapped and carried away into the mountains. Children go on a quest with Gonzo to rescue Camilla. They have to survive several hazards on their journey. Kids construct vehicles that allow them to make it safely through those hazards. In rescuing poor Camilla, children gain skills in reading, vocabulary, word usage, and in problem solving and elementary logic. In the second program, Kermit's Electronic Story Maker, children build stories using nouns, verbs, prepositions, Muppets, locations of Muppets, and Muppet actions. For example, children can place Miss Piggy in a desert and make her fly, or they can set Kermit spinning under the ocean. Children learn new words as they build their stories. Then they can make the computer display their stories like a slideshow, then save them on a disk to read later. Sweetums, can I have the Welcome Aboard disc?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Sweetums.
Anytime.
Our next Muppet computer product, Welcome Aboard, the Muppets Cruise to Computer Literacy, comes from Henson Associates and Bruderbund Software. It costs around $40. This is another product like the Muppet Learning Keys that is ideal for both children ages 5 and up and for all computer beginners, like you, Sweetums.
Right.
You can begin your voyage with the Muppets by seeing a cross-section of their ship on the computer screen. The picture of the ship is really a disguised menu. You can choose different activities by moving the arrow keys and positioning a picture of a small anchor in any one of the rooms on the ship, including a message center, a computer room, a joke library, a salon de beauté, a game room, and a bridge. The beauty of Welcome Aboard is that on the surface you are playing make-believe games with the Muppets, while underneath the surface you are learning important computer skills, including using the computer as an electronic typewriter, post office, and file cabinet. You are learning how to create computer pictures, or graphics, and how to program the computer. And most importantly, you are learning to take control of the computer and use it as a tool to accomplish meaningful goals. I have been a major critic of logo programming because I feel it has little practical use in the real world. In this program, both my criticisms have been partly answered. Children program the computer to help the Muppets navigate a boat, a practical task, and help them reach their destination without sinking, a meaningful objective. Many of the computer products on the market are trivial copies of activities children would be better off doing with paper, scissors, glue, Play-Doh, and finger paints, or they're cheap spin-offs of popular products in other media. But the Muppet products are a pleasant surprise, one both you and your children can enjoy and learn from when you sit down together at the computer. Sweetums, let's play.
All right.
Jim Henson and his team have been successful using the medium of television to entertain and teach young children. Henson Associates hopes its entry into computer software will continue those helpful Muppet learning adventures. From the Muppet Mansion in New York to Frank Ogden's houseboat in Vancouver, the Zebra Systems headquarters in Queens, and Megan Hefner's home in Illinois, this week's program has given us a look at some of the ways technology serves us in these new tech times. Next week, we'll return to report on more such subjects, including these.
In the next edition of the New Tech Times, fly the friendly skies with home computer reservations. Also, smart TVs and high-tech magazines vie for your attention, and Carol Larson gets into the holiday spirit shopping for computer gifts. This and more in the next edition of the New Tech Times.
For the New Tech Times staff, I'm Mort Krim. Thanks for watching.
The New Tech Times has been brought to you through a grant from Wausau Insurance Companies. Times change. Wausau works. And by the collective voice of the consumer electronics industry, the CEG, the Consumer Electronics Group, Electronic Industries Association.
For a transcript of this program, send $3 to the New Tech Times, Program 210, 821 University Avenue, Madison, Wisconsin, 53706.